We give our first impressions of the new 2020 Toyota Highlander, discuss if rustproofing is a wise investment for your car, and talk about the one car that does it all for us, if not for one big issue. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Cars. I'm John Linkove.
I'm Ryan Pizlikowski.
And I'm Mike Monticello.
And in the news this week, a pretty scary event happened out in California. And Mike, why don't you tell us about it with a rollover crash with a child involved?
Yeah, so up in Northern California, there was a SUV rollover crash. It flipped several times. And unfortunately, there was a 6-week-old infant that was in a car seat in the back seat. And it got ejected through a broken window in the midst of this crash. It was actually found on the highway shoulder, still in his car seat, luckily relatively unharmed. Yeah, and so the key thing here is, though, even though it appears that the car seat might not have been installed properly to the SUV, the child was fastened securely into the car seat. And so it's just a good reminder how important it is to constantly check your car seats in your car to make sure that they're always, in there securely.
Yeah, well, one of the things, we talk about Ryan being tall, we talk about me having kids, and I've got 2 kids, have gone through that whole child seat from the infant bucket, which is what this child was supposed to be in, and we're assuming it was in the bucket, all the way up to the booster. And it is a challenge at times to just make sure that to get that confidence that the seat was in properly. And I've had the staff here help me out, the child seat experts here, go over it when we first had kids. In that little bucket, you can hear it click, but maybe it doesn't click fully. Or maybe you just didn't get the attachments in the bottom. And if you're changing the seat base in a car, in and out, you could think you're clicking on underneath and the latch attachments on the bottom, but miss it. But Ryan, there is some data out there that shows how many people actually are installing child seats incorrectly, despite what they think, right?
Right, yeah. So I talked to Emily Thomas, our resident child seat expert, and she surprised me. She says, most people think they're putting these seats in correctly, but actually 45% of them are installed incorrectly or flawed in some way. And that's a big, that's a lot. Yeah. Half of these seats that's not good.
Yeah, but there is help out there. First of all, we've written a lot of stories on consumerreports.org, our website, about how to properly install a child seat. And also, you can find a local certified child passenger safety technician or car seat inspection station on the NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or Safe Kids website, and you can go there with your car and your child seat, and they will check for free to see if you've installed it correctly.
Right. Exactly. It's important to have an expert doing that. A lot of people will say, oh, I was fine back in the day. Well, you were lucky to survive. Being in a child seat reduces an infant's risk of fatal injury in a crash by 71%. Yeah. So just using the seat alone is an advantage over just having the child being around the car. There's more information on the show notes. Check out consumerreports.org for all of our child safety information as well. We're going to pivot now and move over to a new section, the car of the week. This week, it's the 2020 Toyota Highlander that we rented from Toyota. We rent press cars from the manufacturers before they go on sale to get an early look at them. And while we don't give our test results on those vehicles, it gives us an early first look so we can write about it. This one comes with the 3.5-liter V6 engine with an 8-speed automatic. Ryan, you drove it.
I did.
Mike drove it. What did you think first, though?
So it's kind of tough because, of course, we got like some super duper platinum premiums trim level. It's got every bell and whistle in it. It's really nice. I enjoyed driving it. I thought, the Highlander, we've always liked the Highlander here. Maybe the last generation was a little iffy, but I've always loved it. I know that. Toyota doesn't change these things a lot. Their cars, they change, but not a lot. And that's maybe helps them with reliability and other things. I think it's a good thing it didn't change a lot because I did like it. But it's just really nice to drive. The V6 is pretty sweet, got good power. The transmission did well for me. I didn't have any issues. But again, it's this trim level, super high trim level. I don't know if that's going to compare well when we buy our middle of the road one with, say, the Kia. What am I thinking? Telluride. And the Hyundai Palisade, which are fantastic vehicles, and they're really kind of leading this category a little right now. So it's a tough one.
Monty?
I agree with most of that, Ryan. For me, the key thing is that it rights some of the wrongs of the last Highlander that we tested, which was it had some transmission issues, and where it just didn't operate all that intuitively. It would rev too high when it shouldn't. It wouldn't, upshift at the right times. This one, you get in it with this V6, it's super smooth, it's quiet.
Yes.
And the transmission now operates intuitively. It acts just like an automatic should. There's no more of this, high revving for no reason to 4,000 RPM when you're just kind of taking off down the road like the last one did. So that part, they got right. I think overall, again, like you said, it's a high trim, so we're a little clouded for what the mainstream version is going to be, but it is just overall a nice, polished, comfortable, 3-row midsize SUV. There are some things that that are weird about it, like this second row seat doesn't have a whole lot of headroom. Like, look, I'm not a very tall guy, but my spiky hair is just about hitting the roof of that.
I have plenty of space.
Well, yeah, I get it. So there's some things about, and the second row seat is very flat, so it doesn't really hold you in place. And then there's the infotainment system, which I think is a step backwards. I think it's more confusing than before. And so I think mostly steps forward, but when you start, introducing a more confusing infotainment system, I think that's a bit of a problem.
I didn't think it was in the grand scheme of all the new infotainments. I didn't think it was that bad. I guess I wasn't what I didn't pick that out just because it was fair. I figured it was in the middle of the road. I was pleased that it's got a regular shifter in it, especially for a high trim. Usually they have like an electronic shifter. It's got a normal shifter in it. That's fantastic.
Yep. Unlike the Hyundai, for example.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I found it interesting. I'm not personally a fan of the Highlander. It just never worked for me. I've never liked the kind of plasticiness of it. The last one, the touchscreen was very far away, and it was a very annoying, much older feeling system. It's almost like where Toyota uses the old 3.5 liter V6 and just changes it a bit and incrementally, and even the transmission. Okay, they went a little too far at the 8-speed when they launched it in the previous gen, and then they made some fixes to it. They build upon what they've got and incremental gains, not leaps and bounds.
Right.
But that infotainment system seemed like way too, like they were holding on to it too long. And now they've moved forward with better systems. It's also closer, so the reach isn't a problem.
Too.
Big screen. Now this one has the big screen. The XLE that we will likely buy will have a smaller screen. So we'll have to see how that is. It's just overall the feeling I have, and again, we'll test it and find out. A lot of times when you have the cadence of the manufacturers bringing out you have the Honda Pilot, and then you have the Toyota come out, and then maybe the Chevrolet Traverse comes out, and they're all kind of, here they leapfrog. It's almost as if nobody knew Hyundai and Kia were developing those SUVs, because those things came out, and if all the other SUVs are here, they're like out here, and they moved the bar so far forward that this will get loyalists, but I don't know how this is going to really match up with those, because they may not be the most dynamic handling twins, the Kia and Hyundai. They just offer so much.
I know.
It's like they did it really well.
Yeah, it's kind of like, again, this is early impressions, so we haven't bought our vehicle yet, so we can't, these are not, our final opinions on it. Yeah. But sure, it feels so far anyway that the Kia Telluride, Shania would say is still the one.
Yeah.
At least compared to this Highlander. So there are some cool things about that, infotainment system, even though I, think there are some confusing aspects of it. I do like how you can switch the climate controls, the display across the screen. I guess if you want to have it closer to the passenger, you can do that, or if you want to have it closer to the driver. Right. So there are some neat things about that.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, overall, important vehicle for Toyota, obviously. Very popular with Consumer Reports members. We will have a first drive up online on consumerreports.org, and we'll be buying ours as soon as they go on sale. So check back later to see where that goes. And so we're going to move on to the questions segment of the show. As always, send your questions, video, text questions to talkingcars@icloud.com. Love to get them. Try to get as many on each week. Maybe you'll be on one of our all questions episodes. Anyway, first question is from Dom, who says, I'm a little confused about your braking tests. What is the relationship between the tires on the car and the car itself in overall performance? A car manufacturer may put different tires on the same model year vehicle. Does your testing account for this? We're going to throw it to Tire Man Extraordinaire, Ryan.
Yes. So it kind of takes care of itself. The reason being is, original tires that come on a vehicle from the factory, say just for example, Toyota, they're going to put tires on a Highlander. They can call 3 different tire companies and have OE tires made for this vehicle.
Original equipment.
Original equipment tires. Now, what they do is there's a spec that they have to, the tire company has to abide by. So in short, we expect similar performance because these tires, even though they're different brands and makes and everything, they have to still uphold a certain level of performance.
That the car manufacturer asked of the tire manufacturer.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay.
Because if Toyota's putting a tire on a car they want super fuel efficient, they're going to make that tire manufacturer really emphasize low rolling resistance, which helps with fuel economy. Things like that. So the Highlander, they can't have a Highlander out there that stops way longer than another just because they put a different tire on it. So they're shooting for a similar spec. So in short, yeah, we would expect them to perform similar.
So just question or more of a statement. I was looking for tires for my wife's Acura MDX, 2011 MDX, if anyone wants to buy one. And the Pirellis that we put on it, the Scorpion Verdes, they had the Porsche spec.
Yep.
They had, I think, a Mercedes spec, and then they had just general spec.
Yes.
Is that the same type?
So those are designations for certain manufacturers. An aftermarket or replacement tire that we would test at Consumer Reports is not designed for a certain vehicle, which is why we don't test original equipment tires, because theirs might be tuned actually for a Toyota or a BMW or whatever. So, he's referring to, our testing, which is a brand new vehicle with the OE tires. We would expect them to, even with the different brands, we'd expect them to be pretty close. They have to be.
It'll be a lot to change tires every year, or even half model year or something like that,
right.
because of just the cost, but also just the time it takes to build.
Right.
So it's figured in that the car is going to keep the same tire overall.
Yeah, and that's kind of too why we say, like, when your tires wear out, use our ratings and take a look and see what you might want, some different attributes stronger than others or whatever. It's a good tool to have.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Dom, hope that helps answer your question. And, check out our ratings on consumerreports.org if you are looking for tires and have more tire questions. Our second question is from Mike, who says, I live in New Jersey and drive about 40 miles a day for work, regardless of road conditions. I've recently seen ads for underbelly rustproofing and wonder if this is something I should look into to protect my car from salt and chemicals applied to the roads in the winter. So, Monty, we've had ice, we've had snow here in Connecticut, other parts of the country. It's December. What should Mike do with his car?
Why don't I get a cool nickname like Ryan does?
You're not cool.
Oh, okay. Fair point. And hurtful. So the thing with this is that, there are some products out there that, as far as rust-proofing yourself, but you want to be a little careful about adding these rust-proofing products, because if you were to spray something underneath that were to, get somehow hurt the electrical system of the car when it's within its, basic warranty, quite often it's like 3 years, 36,000 miles, whatever the warranty is, the basic bumper-to-bumper warranty. So if spraying that rust-proofing on there were to damage something in some way, and then it malfunctioned, and then you brought it back to the dealer, they might say, well, look, you doing this caused this, so now we're not going to, fix that thing for free. So the advice would be, wait until your car is out of its, basic warranty. And then if you do drive it in a lot of salt and snow and stuff like that, then you could, there's products out there. We've talked about this before. It's like fluid film, which is like a lanolin or wax-based substance that you can spray on the car. And, like I said, once the car's out of its new car warranty, feel free to do that. And that is supposed to, be a pretty good product for warding off rust.
Help protect your investment, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that Keith, another one of the bearded millennials, like our whole group here, who's a host, he did a story talking about that you should really just do an undercarriage wash.
Yeah.
The best way is just keeping it off, not waiting until the end of winter to wash the car, right?
Yeah. Right, and what you mean by that is taking it through the automatic car wash.
Yep.
And you make sure you choose the one. You have usually like 4 different levels, and make sure you choose one of the. Usually it's the top 2 ones that say they have an undercarriage wash. You can do that, or you can just use the hose, get underneath there, and just use the pressure washer.
Yep.
And that's what I just did with my truck the other day, and I just just get underneath there and really spray it, because those undercarriage washers, can only do so much, because you go through and it's over before you know it. But I think there's nothing wrong with getting underneath there and really spraying all that stuff off.
Yeah, where it builds up.
Exactly.
So there you go, Mike. Make sure you take your car to the car wash after this recent storm. Third question, Mike from Colorado says, is there any reason to avoid studdable winter tires if I have no intention of adding studs to them? I sometimes see studdable tires that are cheaper than the traditional kind. And Ryan, we don't really see these tires a lot out there, like Mike says.
Right. Yeah. Not anymore. Kind of just a little history tidbit. Winter tires back in the day were basically all-terrain tires with studs out of them. Because we didn't have the compounding technology that we have now.
So to make the tire...
a modern snow tire is super soft and the compound's flexible, even in crazy temperatures, cold temperatures. We didn't have that then, we have that now. So to answer his question, no, any modern snow tire, even if it's a studdable snow tire, it's gonna be great in the snow. We've found in all our testing, where snow tires fall down is on dry and wet grip. A really good snow tire will be a little better in the dry and wet, but in general, they're all really good in snow and ice just because they're designed for that one thing. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, be afraid of that at all. I mean, just for instance, the General Ultimax Arctic 12 is a tire we tested a few years ago. It's a studdable winter tire, and it's a fantastic tire. We tested it without studs. We can't test studs here because we'll rip the track apart.
Sure.
And studs are kind of a pain because you'll rip your driveway up. There's illegal in some areas at certain times of the year.
Yeah, you have to have those snow tires with the studs off by a certain time in some states.
Well, they're damaged. I mean, they're carbide tips, so they're damaging to the road surfaces. Right. But modern snow tires are really good without studs. I mean, studs really, it's a mechanical thing. So studs help you on like hard ice, hard snow or ice.
Unless you're living in the Colorado Rockies and up at a 14er constantly, driving on almost hard pack the whole time, you're going to be fine with snow tires.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, Mike, good. Hope that helps out. Our final question comes from Pavel from California. And he says, many of your cars fall dramatically in your rankings and lose their recommendations due to a problematic CVT, continuously variable transmission, or infotainment screen, etc. Which cars out there today would be great if it was not for one big issue? So one of the first things is that a lot of the cars lose their recommendations with our reliability. In regards to reliability, particularly when there's a model year change with a design. So it's not just the model year like 2019 to 2020, but it's when it's been redesigned for that year, or it's a first year of a model ever. Manufacturers just don't get it right. So it tends to be not just, the infotainment screen was not liked. It was that they did something brand new, and that's the issue. And it takes a little time for the manufacturers to work that out. And that comes across the line, from Honda to Jaguar to Audi to Volvo. But it did give us an idea thinking about, was there a fatal flaw car, like he was asking, a fatal flaw in one car that would take it totally out of the running for us. So we're going to go to Mike first on that one.
So for me, if you're looking at it from a fatal flaw in terms of reliability, it would have to be the BMW 3 Series, the new BMW 3 Series, because right now the predicted reliability is much worse than average. Yeah. So fatal flaw important to me because I don't want a car that is, even though it's going to be under warranty, I don't want to deal with having to bring it back and forth to the dealer, or what's going to happen down the road if I keep it for a long time. I love driving that car. I think it's a great car. It's a great little sports sedan, but that would keep me from buying the car because of its really poor reliability right now. But I also thought about it another way, if you don't mind me.
Why should we care?
Pulling a Mike Quincy and throwing everything all out of kilter. The fatal flaw for me that would keep me from buying some cars today would be a sports car without the option of a manual transmission. Because if I'm throwing down my hard-earned money on a sports car, I want the whole deal. Okay, so that would, while the 2020 Toyota Supra is really fun to drive, I'm not buying it. If I were buying it, I wouldn't buy it because I would buy something else that has a manual transmission, because the manual transmission, the involvement that you get with the manual transmission is so much a part for me of driving a sports car. So that means no Toyota Supra, no 2020 Chevrolet Corvette, no Porsche 911 GT3 RS, no Ford GT.
Which was going to be in his driveway next week, right?
Basically no Ferrari or Lamborghini made today I wouldn't buy. Now I know Ferrari is going to be like, oh great, now we lost that buyer, right?
Whoever's next on the list, don't worry, Mike's not taking your spot.
But for me, that is the thing. I would not go buy one of those cars right now. I mean, I love Ferraris. I have an Italian last name, Italian heritage, and two of my three favorite cars of all times are Ferraris. But I wouldn't buy a brand new Ferrari today because I would want to buy one of the older ones that has, that awesome gated manual shifter. I mean, that's so much a part of a sports car. It really bothers me that we're going away from that.
It is.
That's my rant for the day. Sorry, guys.
Okay. It's okay. So Ryan, can you top that one?
So I'm not that passionate about it, but I do agree with you. I do agree with you. No, just off the top of my head, like any of the new Mercedes infotainment systems drive me nuts. I love driving the cars; they drive nice, but I wouldn't buy one because I can't get used to that system, and I'm pushing buttons by accident on the steering wheel, those swipey things. Yeah. I just get lost, and that drives me nuts. And that's a car I really do. Most of those I like, but I don't think I can get over the infotainment systems on it.
I was thinking the way like Monty's first thought was, I like actually the Alfa Romeo Giulia.
Yeah,
and. It's not just us. I mean,
it's a hot driving little car.
It's fun to drive.
You know, it's a fun car. I think it looks pretty good for. I mean, it's tough to see cars today. You know, they're all so generic looking.
Yeah.
You know, more and more.
It's unique. Yeah.
Unique and horrible reliability. That's a total fatal flaw for that. That would just be not even consider. Yeah. A couple things I was thinking that. I had a student at a recent track event that I was I was instructing, and he had a BRZ. And it was a great Subaru BRZ. Great car, really fun car. Really great, and it was at Virginia International Raceway, so some long straights. And he would, rip it up through the curves, and on the straights, he would run out of gas immediately. Like, that needs the WRX engine in it. So that's the fatal flaw. The BRZ would be a great sports fun car. Because it can really run away from some of the more high-performance cars in the turns. Absolutely. But Miata-like, it just is sort of like, all right, go by me when you get to the straightaway. Yeah. I'd like to see that. So that's a fatal flaw for a car.
That would be awesome if they put a turbo.
I've always said that. We use the 86s for tire testing, and
what a fun car.
It needs another 50, 75 horsepower. It would be a blast.
Because it is so much fun to take around.
And it's well balanced. Front engine, rear drive. It's a manual, so
it's a proper sports car without the power.
Yep. Exactly. Needs a little more guts. All right, so on that note, we're going to wrap up this week's episode. As always, send us your questions, your video questions, your text questions to TalkingCars@iCloud.com. Also, remember, check the show notes for information on everything that we've talked about. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.